again, folks, and welcome to part 2 of this 4-part series on how to frame the circumstances in which we are living. In the first part, we made the very important observation that everything is temporary, that this entire material world is subject to change. And as it changes, it flows. It actually becomes something else. The world we live in today is not at all the world we lived in 40 years ago. You may be living in the same house. You may be inhabiting the same body, but your house and your body are different than they were 40 years ago because all things change. Everything changes. Now, for this one, I'm going to take a look. The last part 1, we looked at where Jesus said, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." So that is Matthew 24:35. This is from Luke 21. And Luke 21 is Luke's version of Jesus's end times teaching. So the 2 chapters really go together, Matthew 24, Luke 21. They're where Jesus discusses our encounter with the ending. Like we said in the last section, every ending is a new beginning. Every beginning marks the ending of something else. Luke 21, verse 19. In your patience or patient endurance, you will gain or possess your souls. That the possession of your soul, the actual establishment of your soul, will be by your patient endurance. See, that verse right there tells us that we are here to patiently endure all of the ups and all of the downs, all the positives and all the negatives of this life. So we go through tough times, but we go through those tough times in order that we would come to understand our soul. Now, Jesus says his words will not pass away. In the last section, I basically said that it is the meaning of those words that is eternal. As we discover the meaning of his words, we discover the meaning of our souls. And it is the meaning of the soul that does not pass away. It goes on. The meaning of the soul transcends all of the changes that occur here in this world. Now, there are 4 ways that we can understand, 4 ways that we can see patterns in the experiences that we have in this world. And I'm going to, this is the Kaheen lecture that I gave at the community college and the essay that I wrote on the basis of that. And I can furnish you with a copy of this if you are interested in it.
We'll put it in the description.
We can put it in the description, yes. So, 4 ways of understanding any situation that we may go through in our lives. The first way of understanding is on the biggest scale, the large scale. is just to look at the rules and patterns that govern the changes that occur in our world. And that's outside, for the moment, outside of us, but as we look out at the world and we see what happens in the world every day, as day follows day and week follows week, month follows month, and year follows year, as time goes on and we live the days of our lives, the world changes. And it changes according to certain patterns. A good way to understand those patterns is to understand and look at the weather. Today, cold. Today is the 2nd of December, 2020. It was cold. It was clear, dry. Now, what happens after it's cold, clear, and dry? What would you expect that would change into? Obviously, it would change into warmer. It would change into cloudy. It would change into rain. So when I consult the weather report and see what's it going to be on Friday it's going to be cloudy, it's going to be wet, and it's going to be warmer. Because the weather is that way, right? Everybody understands that. It changes from this into that. But everything else follows similar dynamic, chaotic patterns. Dynamic, chaotic patterns. A chaotic pattern is like a swirl. Okay, I can show you how any swirl in nature, like let's say the swirl in a shell, like a conch shell. You look at that shell, that snail shell, and you see the way that spiral goes in that shell. Or look at a spiral in a wave in the ocean. It goes the same way. Look at the spiral as a fern plant, all curled up, you know, the way the fronds of a fern are curled up and the way that curled fern opens itself up. And even the patterns of leaves and the patterns of trees, the patterns of tree roots, the patterns of shells, the patterns you see in insects, the patterns you see. These patterns basically keep repeating themselves. And that is a hallmark of creation. Everything that happens in the world will follow that pattern of dynamic chaos. It will all unfold according to a pattern. You can't always see the pattern. Sometimes things happen and we can't perceive the pattern because it maybe goes too slow, or maybe it goes too fast, or maybe it's not really representing itself in such a way that we can see the pattern, but the pattern is there. The more we study worldly events of various kinds, the more we learn to recognize and see the dynamic patterns by which everything ebbs and flows. Ebbs and flows. And so, if you don't like what's happening in the world, all you have to do, really, is wait for it to change. Because change, it will. And sometimes we don't like the changes, but the changes occur anyway. The changes that occur in the world, by the way, don't care one bit if we like them or not. They will continue to be and do what they are. Now, in sociology, or the study of society, they study the patterns by which social phenomena come and go. In history, we see the patterns of how societies change in various ways, ebbing and flowing. This pandemic that has become such a tremendous problem for us, again, the world of dynamic chaos is a world of continuous dynamic chaotic patterns. If we can see those patterns, it helps us to have the patient endurance, you see. I'm going to take you back one more time to this wonderful verse of Jesus in Luke 21:19. In your patient endurance, you will gain your souls. Okay? Your soul is an eternal fixture in the mind of God, created by God, put here on this planet, on this earth by God, to go through the ups and the downs, the wet and the dry, the dark and the light, the seasons of the year, the regular breaking of the waves of the ocean, the coming and going of pestilence, the coming and going of plague, the coming and going of nation rising against nation and wars of various kinds, earthquakes, which, by the way, are just a prime example of dynamic, chaotic events that occur as the tectonic plates of the earth shift over against one another, the changing of the earth, volcanic eruptions, all of this stuff. Simple patterns of dynamic chaos. So patient endurance is just witnessing it. God put you here for a very short period of time. What, 100 years max? Here you are. Here you are with the opportunity to witness these dynamic, chaotic patterns as they occur in the world around you. Now, that concludes pretty much part 2. I have 2 more parts to go, and in those 2 parts, we're going to look at the interior, how those dynamic, chaotic patterns occur in your body, in yourself, and how you make decisions based on them, and how you hold faith in the goodness of God throughout all of the ebbing, flowing, changing patterns that you're going to encounter. So we'll be picking this up with part 3.